Dillons, just right down the road, right down there, that can help you. But happy Mother's Day to all of you moms. How would you respond if someone were to walk up to you, maybe later today or tomorrow or even at work, and ask you this question, why are you Catholic? What would we say? How would we respond to that? Maybe we would say, well, my family has always been Catholic, and so I've just continued that tradition because that's important to me. Or maybe we would say, well, I'm Catholic because it makes me feel good to go to Mass on Sundays and to have God in my life. Now, both of these are good answers. And if we're honest about it, at times it can be hard for us to maybe articulate or describe or put into words, rather, just why we are indeed Catholic. Why being a Catholic Christian is important to us and why it gives us hope in this life. And yet, my brothers and sisters, that's exactly what St. Peter is encouraging us to do in our second reading today when he says, "Beloved, sanctify Christ in your hearts. Always be ready to give an explanation to anyone who asks you the reason for your hope." You know, growing up in a Catholic family, if someone would have asked me, why are you Catholic? I probably would have responded with that first answer. Well, my family is Catholic, and so I've continued this tradition because it's important to me. And that's good enough when you grow up in Colwich, Kansas, a predominantly Catholic town in western Sedgwick County, just outside of Wichita. That's good enough when you go to a public high school from kindergarten all the way to senior in high school, and yet most of your classmates are also Catholic. But when I went to college, I realized just how little I knew about my own faith. In fact, it wasn't until I was in the seminary studying for the priesthood that I opened the catechism for the first time. Unfortunately, that's actually true. And when I was in college, I could chat and share and talk about our faith with friends who were Catholic, but I was very hesitant to speak up when someone asked me about why I was Catholic or why this particular teaching of the church. But as I began to study and as I began to learn, I began to discover the true beauty of our faith. And the reality is this: the more we learn, the more we can share. And when you get to the why of our faith, when we come to understand why we do what we do as Catholics and why we believe what we believe as Catholics, it becomes a beautiful picture. And that's the journey for all of us, isn't it? Growing in our understanding of the faith that we profess and proclaim. Growing in our understanding of why we're here each Sunday at Mass. You know, over the course of time, if someone were to ask me that question, why are you Catholic, my answer changed. I began to say, I'm Catholic because I've come to realize that through my faith, I can know the truth that comes from God. I can know the truth, and I can encounter Jesus himself, and not just encounter him, I can really get to know him and walk with him in life. And I can receive his grace, his very life, through the sacraments of the church. Grace is to help me to become holy. Grace is to help me on my journey to my true home in heaven. And that gives me hope. That God is right here with me in my life. Present right here in my life. Even though we live in a world that has so much brokenness and sin and suffering. And I've come to realize that I can't find this. I can't get this anywhere else than in my Catholic faith. Now, it's true, being a Catholic Christian, living out our faith, it's far from easy. It isn't always easy, and it never has been. In fact, there's no such thing as an easy Christianity. If we're really trying to follow Jesus, it's never easy. He never said it would be. Just look at what Jesus tells us in our gospel today. He says, if you love me, you will keep my commandments. That's a sobering statement. He doesn't say, if you love me, just go ahead and try to keep some of the commandments. Or if you love me, just keep the commandments that you really kind of find easy to do. He says, if you love me, keep my commandments. That's sobering for me. That's a reminder for me that my love for him isn't always complete, especially when I choose something away from him. It's a reminder that there's places in our hearts that still need changing and conversion. But Jesus gives us his teachings and he gives us his commandments. Why? So that we can have freedom. So that we can have true freedom in this life to love God and our neighbor. And he gives us the sacraments of his church so that we can receive his grace and his very life. Because he wants to infuse his grace, his very life into us. Because his grace is the only remedy for sin. It's the only remedy for sin. And so he wants to just infuse his grace over and over again, daily, regularly, into our lives through the sacraments, because he personally wants to help us in this transformation and conversion process. And so if someone asks you, why are you Catholic? How will we respond? In the end, you don't have to go to a seminary to learn about our Catholic faith and to be able to teach others about it, to share that with others. We have so many resources at our fingertips. The Bible in the Year podcast, the Catechism in the Year podcast, audio books, regular books, Kindle books, videos, education classes. There's so many resources we have at our fingertips. And you don't have to go to a seminary to be able to share with others how Jesus is working in your life and what he has done for you and how your life is now different because of him. But one thing is for certain, Jesus is counting on you and me to be witnesses and examples of his faith, his hope, and his love out there beyond those doors. He needs our voices so that others can know about the truth, so that others can know about him and his love, so that others can have hope in this life and in the life to come. And we all know, my friends, that people are starving for hope, hungering for hope in our world today. Make no mistake, there are certain people that the Lord has specifically chosen for you to help in this life. And so, beloved, sanctify Christ in your hearts. Always be ready to give an explanation to anyone who asks you the reason for your hope. When we stop talking about our faith, when we stop learning about our faith, it becomes very easy to overlook the beauty of our faith, the richness of our faith. And we can lose sight of why we do what we do and why we believe what we believe. And so going back to that first question, if someone were to ask you, why are you Catholic? What would you say?